Greetings and salutations. Welcome to another episode of Straight Talk, where we give it to you straight with no chaser. I am your host, Christopher Platt. As always, this evening we are broadcasting live from the Platt Cave. How's everybody doing out there? Hope you're feeling pretty well on this nice, mellow Wednesday evening, the 22nd of July in the year 2015. Starting to become somewhat of a long, hot summer. That's why I say that I hope and pray that wherever you may be broadcasting and tuning in on this, whether it be this night, whether it be another night, whether it be 2 weeks, 2 years down the line, just remember this tumultuous time in our history. And no matter where you were or where you are at this particular time, right now, I hope you find yourself safe, and I hope you find yourself chilling somewhere. You're hanging out. Maybe knocking back a couple of adult beverages, a few sarsaparillas, if you will. Whatever your vice is, maybe chilling out a little more low. If you enjoy the sticky of the Iggy, go for it. If you just want to have a nice toke off your cigarette after a long, hard day, go for it. You earned it. Oh, I'd be remiss to let you know that tonight's broadcast is brought to you by the good people at San Pellegrino. That's right. That's like Perrier. It's real, artsy-fartsy water. But I tell you something, man. You put a lemon in there, squeeze the lemon in there, shake it up a little bit. It's a refreshing beverage. Not quite Colt 45, but it still does the trick. Anywho, how you guys doing out there this fine evening? Hope everybody's doing well. As I said before, it's been a long, hot summer. I guess the last couple of days have been the days of beefs. People just been putting their foot in their mouths, and people been Twitter beefing and social media beefing, and been saying, politicians been saying the wrong things at rallies, and just been a long, hot summer, man. Just has been a long, hot summer. So by all means, please kick your feet up, relax, exhale, take a deep breath. And no matter where you are right now, no matter what station you find yourself in life, at this particular moment, I just want you to exhale and relax and enjoy this moment. Then work on enjoying the next moment, and so on and so forth. Because right now, we find ourselves in a time in our history that can probably best be described as tumultuous. Now, I know a lot of you guys, you kind of have your head buried in your own lives, and you put your headphones on and you have tunnel vision. You try to block out a lot of the things that are going on right now. But trust me, there's a lot going on right now. There's something happening. There's something happening. There is a shift in the diameter. I don't even know what I'm saying. I'm about to say some wacky shit like Pluto's stars are aligned and the Neptunes are they going to record an album? You know what I mean? But yeah, there's clearly a shift in a dynamic that's taking place right now. And if you can't see that, well, you need to take your blinders off. So yeah, right now, just relax. And I say enjoy the ride. So tonight's episode, I wanted to get into a little bit about religion versus spirituality. And it just kind of came to me on a whim during my studies, and we'll get to that a little bit later. I also want to take your questions. So if you are new to the broadcast, there's a couple of ways we can go about doing this. For starters, you can sign in through the social media stream of your choosing. Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, those sorts of things. All right. Now, you can also log in through the actual Ustream site itself. Okay. You'll have to create a username, a password. You know the deal. You know the drill. Y'all know how these things work. Now, once you do either of those, you are now able to interact in this discussion that we have this evening. So I can see your thoughts, your questions, your comments, your concerns. As a matter of fact, somebody shoot me a line in the chat room just so I know that it's working. Oh, well, there we go. Ask and ye shall receive, huh? Right? So yes, again, I want to hear from you, hopefully as much as you want to hear from me. This is not a monologue, ladies and gentlemen. This is a dialogue. Your thoughts, your opinions, not only are they welcome, quite frankly, they're mandatory. So just, yes. Yeah, I went there. Anywho. So a couple of things I wanted to talk about before we get to the topic. I've got a couple of items on the reading list that you guys need to check out, okay? For starters, we're going to talk about my main man, Ta-Nehisi Coates. Now, let me make sure that gets in the screen, all right? This is his latest endeavor. Now, for those of you that aren't familiar with Ta-Nehisi, he has a blog with the Atlantic online, and he's written a few books as well, and he's a notable scholar right now. And for my money, right now, he is the best author that we have right now when it comes to terms of writing about race and race relations. He's probably the best author that we have right now. Actually, not probably, he is. And he may be the best since Baldwin. Now, understand, I am in no ways, means, shapes, or forms informed enough to make that opinion. I.e., I don't know shit. So don't take my word for that, okay? Like, I am in no way, shape, and form able to make that call or validated enough to make that call. That being said, I do suggest that you check this book out. The name of the book, again, is Between the World and Me. Now, the way that it's set up is that it's a letter that he's writing to his 15-year-old son. And it's heavy, man. It's uncompromising. It pulls no punches. It's heavy. And it'll make you think. I recommend that you check this out. And it's a real quick read. It's only about 147 pages. It took me a couple of days to read it because I'm slow. I'm just a slow reader. But some of you smart melon farmers, y'all could probably knock it out in a day or two. So again, I suggest you check it out. But before I send you to check it out, I have to give you a disclaimer. Again, it is raw, it is edgy, and it pulls no punches. But it's an interesting read. I even made notes in there. So yeah, I suggest y'all check it out. Y'all need to start reading anyway, man. Turn that damn TV off sometimes. Start reading. Put a book in your face. Doesn't matter what it's about. Just put a book in your face every now and again. Trust me on this one. Turn that damn TV off sometimes. You know? Trust me on this one, okay? Trust me. So again, the author's name is Ta-Nehisi Coates. The name of the book is Between the World and Me. I highly recommend highly recommend that you go check it out. Like, I can't give this book a higher recommendation. Again, I'm no critic. I don't know shit. But I say check it out. I think it's ironic that last week the 2 or 3 best-selling books on the New York Times bestseller list was this. This book was actually number 3 on the New York Times bestseller list, only topped by Harper Lee. They found a lost book of Harper Lee, the author of To Kill a Mockingbird. So not only was everybody going out to rush to buy the new one, everybody was going out to buy To Kill a Mockingbird as well, so they can reread it. Because let's keep it real, none of us we ain't read that since school, right? You know, middle school, high school. I think I read it in middle school. I don't remember, but we haven't read it since then, right? And depending on your age bracket and demographic, it's been quite a long time. And you really don't remember a whole lot about To Kill a Mockingbird. Just saying. But yeah, so they occupied the first 2 slots in the bestsellers list, and this gentleman's work was number 3. He's probably best known for an essay he wrote back in 2008. It was the case for reparations. So if you haven't read that, I suggest you go check that one out as well. But again, the man's name is Ta-Nehisi Coates, Between the World and Me. Go check it out, man. Go get your face in a book. Now, the other one that I've been reading, I was slacking on my Mac, but I'm going to pick it back up. Now, this one's been out for a while. And for whatever reason, I just never got around to reading it. Just, I guess life got in the way. I don't know, whatever. Lies My Teacher Told Me. Now, this is by a gentleman named James Loewen. I beg your pardon. White guy, by the way. Real deep book. Real good book. Again, highly recommend it. And I guess you could say that the central thesis of this book, well, for starters, they're going over events in American history that were told one way, however they happened another way. Which is a general theme. If you study history, you'll know, we learned one thing in school. However, it kind of worked out differently in real life. You know what I mean? But to the victors go the spoils. So if you want to know what really happened, go ask the losers, right? Anywho, lies my teacher told me. And I guess the central theme of this book is how European-centric our American history is. So in other words, if somebody European didn't find it, then somehow it's invalid until somebody of European descent finds it. That's basically the general theme of this book. And this one is extensive. This is about 400 or 500 pages. So this might take you a little bit longer. But again, I suggest that you check these out. And this was also a bestseller when it came out. So again, Lies My Teacher Told Me by James W. Loewen. And Between the World and Me, Ta-Nehisi Coates. I suggest y'all check those out. That was a ringing endorsement. Maybe if I ever get to Oprah status, I'll start a book club and shit, right? I'm just kidding. It had to be like an e-book club or something. It'd be a text club. That's going to be the new books, man. Motherfuckers going to be putting together like text message conversations. And they'll be like little 15 or 50-page pamphlets. Hey, man, if one of y'all can figure out how to do that and make it funny, yeah. Make it an app, you know what I mean? Make it an app where motherfuckers got to download and you can figure out the revenue streams from there. But yeah, you read your little textbook. Anywho, I'm tripping. Call it a textbook. That's right. Anywho. But yeah, I suggest you check out that reading material. Y'all need to just start reading in general, man. It opens up your mind, man. Opens up your mind. So let me see. Let me get to your questions here before we get into our topic. Again, tonight's topic is religion versus spirituality. I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear your questions. Are you thinking, is he going to go there? Where is he going to go? I want to hear what's on your mind. Let me see. Tell us your thoughts about the Sandra Bland situation. Now, you guys are familiar with that, right? Sandra Bland is the young lady who had been stopped down in Texas. She was found dead in her cell. The official police report initially was saying that she hanged herself. And everybody's kind of calling bullshit, judging by what's been happening in the last year or so. Y'all familiar with the situation, right? So the tape came out yesterday. I don't know if you guys saw it. I skimmed through it because it was like 52 minutes. You know what I mean? So I skimmed through it. And it was interesting watching it because I could already see the two polarizing. I could see the spectrum. Like I could see it develop. And I can see where everybody's going to come from. If you feel a certain way about it, that's where you're going to come from. If you feel the other way about it, that's where you're going to make your case and make your argument. So I thought that was interesting. And then come to find out that guy came out and said that the tape was doctored. So there's that. Yeah, that tape was doctored. And let me say something from personal experience. This is straight talk. We family. So let me say something from personal experience, okay? Because the initial official police report, say that 5 times fast, was that she hanged herself with a trash bag. Now, again, I speak from personal experience. Don't need to get into particulars or details in this particular subject matter. However, I speak from a particular point of expertise in this particular matter. That being said, you don't have trash bags in jail cells, okay? They take your belt. They take your shoestring. They're not going to give you trash bags for that very reason. That's why they do all that. So melon farmers ain't hanging themselves all willy-nilly. So I call bullshit on that one. San Pellegrino. Yeah, I call bullshit on that one. So no, she didn't hang herself on a trash bag. And I guess it just came out today that they're trying to frame the narrative. You know what I mean? So now they've got to say that she was suicidal. Like she contemplated suicide before, after her child died or something. I don't know. But see, now they gotta paint the picture. You know what I mean? They paint the picture. And y'all let them get away with that crap time and time again. They gotta paint a certain picture. Because truthfully, black lives don't matter. You know, not just the white people, but black people. Black lives don't matter. So they've got to clean it up and make it look nice and neat. so that it makes you feel better. So it allows you to sleep better at night. You know what I mean? Yeah, and A-Rose right. They do it every single time. It's like Colt 45 every time. So they had to put a little, so they're going to do that. Again, you can't trust what you hear in the mainstream media. You just can't. And I don't care who's doing it. You just can't. You just can't. And that's sad to say, because once upon a time, I'd like to believe that there was a certain amount of integrity that went into the field of journalism. Like you had a obligation to your paying public or your viewing public to tell the truth. But you know how that goes. That's the golden rule, right? He who has the gold rules. So that's how that works. You can't trust what you hear on the mainstream media. And see, this is the sad part, because you've already been trained. So wherever your conscience is kind of sort of leaning you, whatever way that you're leaning, they've got a station for you. And then they put a bunch of people on there to bloviate, and all they really do is reaffirm what you already believe. So you never question your beliefs. You never challenge your beliefs. You never put your beliefs to the fire. Because heaven forbid, what if what you believe is proven to be invalid? But we'll get into that a little bit later on today. We'll get into that when we get into the meats and bones and tonight's topic, again, which is religion versus spirituality. Right now, I'm just talking about the Sandra Bland situation. What do you guys think about the Sandra Bland situation? Because I'm watching the tape yesterday, and I'm looking at it, and I can already see the chess pieces lining up. You know what I mean? Like, I can see every way. Okay, the people that feel a certain way about that and want to support the police or the white supremacists, whatever that is, they're going to see it as her being disrespectful to law enforcement and not following rules. And then on the other end of the spectrum, those that are sick of mental farmers dying and really believe that Black Lives Matter and something that needs to be done, they're going to look at it from this point of view as, well, why did he stop her to begin with? Why did he force her to get out the car? And that sort of thing. And why is he being an asshole? So that's how they're going to set it up. And we'll fall for the bait because we fall for it every time. And you'll be further entrenched into whatever it is that you think. Now, me personally, I think it's some bullshit. And I'm sick of this shit. That's why I'm trying to do this. But at the same time, you can't be so steadfast in your beliefs that if new evidence is presented to you, you can't at least question. Because quite frankly, you should always have a curious mind. You should question everything. Because if it's real, it stands up to questioning. See, the truth has a ring to it. And when something's real, it's going to stand up to questioning. No matter how many questions you throw at it, it's going to stand up to the questioning. So you don't have to challenge that. You don't have to worry about that because that's tangible. That's as tangible as this table right here. You understand? That's as tangible as this watch. You understand? So it stands up to questioning. But you should constantly be questioning what you believe. Some of it's going to stand up to questioning. Some of it won't. So now you have to look at it differently. So now another piece of the chessboard is revealed to you. Or another piece of the puzzle is revealed to you. Does that make sense? So now you go henceforth with that new added kernel and knowledge of information. So now what we're supposed to do is that we put that in our mental Rolodex. I'm old school, so I still have a Rolodex. Y'all got mental smartphones and shit now. Y'all got mental brains or something, okay? But I put that in my mental Rolodex. So now we go forth with that knowledge. You understand? And then we build upon that. Does that make sense? Or am I pontificating too much? Does that make sense? But yeah, and don't ever let somebody else tell you what to think. I guess that's the biggest thing. Don't ever let somebody else tell you what to think. And see, that's very difficult because, again, when you're dealing with the mainstream media, the news already has a certain slant to it, depending on what channel that you're on, or depending on what message they want to convey. You understand? It already has a slant to it. There's certain words that they slip in there that you don't even realize what that does and what that triggers in your subconscious. You understand? Because we've spent years and years and years, and the last, what, 2 or 3 generations have been partly raised by this idiot box, the television, right? And they tell you, television. I heard Eddie Griffin say this, television programming. They're telling you they're programming you visually. You know what I mean? But it is, because you see those images and, that shit gets burned into your subconscious. And again, you have nothing to do with your subconscious. It passes your conscious into your subconscious. You have nothing to do with that. And you might not even know that it's there. But as a result of that, you automatically have a bias to get something, or you just think a certain way. I'll give you a perfect example. I was sitting here, my girl and I, we were watching TV. We were watching something. Whatever we were watching, it's inconsequential to the story. But the dude came on TV with a bucket of chicken. Like, I'm a conscious brother, but I'll let you know, man, like, I'm conscious, I'm woke, but I can't see a bucket of chicken without getting hungry. You know what I mean? And we had just smashed some Thai food. I was like 3 plates of Thai food in. Like, you know what I mean? I was good. But I saw this bucket of chicken. I automatically started salivating like Pavlov's dogs. You know what I mean? And it's so jacked up, man, that I don't even have to see the actual chicken. Like, I don't even have to see the chicken, just the bucket itself. The bucket doesn't even have to have a piece of chicken on the bucket. It doesn't have to be the kernel. All it has to do is be a bucket, and the implication has to be that there's chicken inside that bucket. You know what I mean? But that's how that stuff works, man. That's how it works. Now, and now I just used a very mundane example, but imagine how that might work in something that actually means something. Maybe how you feel about another person. Maybe how you feel about black people. Or maybe how you feel about white people. Or maybe how you feel about Latins. Or how you feel about Asians. Or how you feel about homosexuals. Or whatever this new shit they got out now. You understand how that works? Like, I gave a very mundane example, but can you understand how that works? And again, I'm just asking questions. We're just asking questions. Just asking questions. So my thoughts on the Sandra Bland situation are my thoughts on all these other situations. They're going to keep happening because Black lives don't matter until you give them value. So what are y'all going to do about it? Like, I sound like a broken record by this point in time. Y'all heard me say that before, right? What y'all going to do about it? Until y'all decide y'all want to do something about it, this stuff is going to keep happening. But I digress. What else we got here? Also, did you hear about the Nicki Minaj Piers Morgan beef? Yeah, I heard about that stupid crap. Did y'all hear about that? So Nicki was mad. Her video didn't get nominated for a VMA, and then she came out talking about how they only respect or support a certain type of artist, and then somehow Taylor Swift caught wind and took a little offense to that, and then it turned into some, yeah. And then Piers Morgan wrote an article. Don't worry about that, though, man. Like, you don't have to listen to everybody that has an opinion. You just don't. And life's too short. Life is way too short. So, yeah, man, don't worry about that stuff, man. But let's get to I wanted to get to our topic. So I wasn't trying to be trivial with whoever asked that question. I do apologize. I just wanted to get into the topic, okay? Because I really want to talk about this, and I also want to hear your thoughts on this. So, religion versus spirituality. Now, again, I want to hear your thoughts, but let me ask you a question. Could it be possible that the customs and the rituals and the pomp and the circumstance that is religion actually cripples us spiritually? Let me ask that again, and then I'm gonna take a couple sips off my San Pellegrino and see and get some answers to that question from you all. Could it be that the pomp, the circumstances, could it be that religion is actually crippling us spiritually? I'm just asking. What do you think? Again, I'm not saying one way or another. I'm merely just asking a question. I'm simply asking a question. And what do you think? Don't everybody answer at once. Because we've talked about this before on the show. And at least in the black community, the power in the black community, or the black neighborhood more aptly, has always lied in the church. That's just what it is. No matter how you shape it, whether good or bad, right or wrong, that's how it is. That's where the power lies. So I use black as an example, but we can open up the floor now to whatever religious edict that you ascribe to. Doesn't matter what it is. Be it Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, Judaism, whatever it is. Is all that encompasses the word religion actually crippling us spiritually? Because we talk a lot on this show about how things evolve over time. Civilizations evolve over time. Things change. Words gain different meaning, or alternative meanings, or dual meanings. You understand? Because I think about it, put yourself back in the time of slavery. And number one, I thank God that I was born way after that, because I couldn't imagine. Because from everything I've read, that shit sounds horrific. And what I've read, that's, second or third hand accounts. Like, so there's no, Thank you, God. I thank you for that. But during this time, and you got to remember that there were generations upon generations upon generations of people that were born into slavery. And like, that was their life. Like, that's all they knew. That's all they knew. So and it actually wasn't even slavery after a while. It was just life. Message, by the way, but I don't know if y'all caught that one. So because of that, perhaps you develop certain customs as coping mechanisms. So for example, if you subscribe to the Christian faith, certainly you can't hope for any peace or joy or happiness in your current state of your physical being, because you were born in bondage. So then, of course, you would plant those seeds and want to sow those seeds to collect your bounty in heaven. Does that make sense? Or am I kind of going off the rails here? I think that made sense. Did that make sense? Yes, I can see that message. And see, this is normally how rituals or customs come into be. You understand? So initially they start out from necessity. And then after a generation or two, they turn into custom. And then after a while, and as civilization evolves and time passes, they become gospel. Now, I don't mean gospel in the term of in this biblical sense, but I mean gospel as in that's just what it is. And you know no other way, because that's just what has always been done. You understand? Been pimping since been pimping since been pimping. Does that make sense? And I think that there's a couple of places I wanted to take this. But for starters, I think that sometimes the religion, when you subscribe to a certain religion, just like everything else, we talk about it again. We talk about this. You can actually do your day while mentally you're on autopilot. You understand? Just through repetition. Like you can go to your job and literally turn your brain off and do it on autopilot and get yourself home and eat, sleep, repeat, right? So perhaps if you subscribe to a certain religion and you're fervent about it, perhaps you get caught up again in those customs and those circumstances and those rituals that come with the religious section of it. And as a result, because now not only are you putting your work, your job, and your other, because everything else is on autopilot, so why would your religious life or your spiritual life be on autopilot as well? So now you go through with all the customs, you show up on Saturday or Sunday, depending on what edict you subscribe to. You show up, you fellowship and everything. You get fed your daily bread, proverbially. And then because you do that, that gives you the right to call yourself a good person. You understand? You don't ever have to actually evolve as an individual or evolve on a spiritual level. But because you go through with the ritualistic customs, you now have afforded yourself the pass to be able to call yourself a good person. You understand? So now as a result of that, we're able to justify the bullshit that we do. Does that make sense? Because we follow the ritualistic customs, so we do that, and we say grace before we eat, you know what I mean, and whatever, and we pray 5 times a day or whatever. We go through the motions, we go to the Bible study, and whatever. So now we start to look at it as a regimen, almost like you're working out. Okay, I did my 15 reps today, right? Yeah. So I'm getting stronger, but you're actually getting weaker spiritually. You understand? Does that make sense? Does that make sense? I'm being serious now. But see, again, that allows us to be able to call ourselves good people without actually having to put in any work at it. You understand? So now as a result of that, now follow me here, now as a result of that mental atrophy that kicks in, when you see certain situations that happen, and plus we've been watching violence since, this country was built on violence. So we do kind of have a desensitization to violence. So when you see certain things that happen, you don't look at it as on a human level anymore because you're so used to turning off your humanity because you go through your day on autopilot. So you never get in touch with your spiritual side. You never get in touch with the God in you, with your connection to your creator. See, that's where the spirituality comes in. You get to a connection with your creator. You understand? And then you start to understand your purpose. And then you start to walk in that purpose. And that's how you find fulfillment and enlightenment. It ain't by eating a cracker every third Sunday and the grape juice. It ain't by passing out the watchtower. And it ain't by peddling the final call. You understand? But again, going back to my point, yeah, sometimes we get caught up in the practices and the customs of the religion. And also look at it from this angle as well. You can make the argument that we kind of use religion, and this is people now, as a coping mechanism. We tend to use religion as a coping mechanism. Because as far as living life, it's a lot easier to let go and let God. Now, ultimately, obviously, everything is done in the will of God. Like we know that. We're not disputing that. We're not arguing that. I had to say that because there's going to be some idiot out there that's going to misconstrue what I say. So I have to have documented evidence of the contrary in case it comes to it. Okay. But again, at some point in time in the equation, personal accountability has to come into play. But again, and this is something that, at least as black folks, we were taught through generations. I'm going to suffer now and plant my kingdom in heaven. And it's gotten to the point that we find some sort of perverted morality in struggling, in having to struggle. Somehow we found the nobility and the morality in the struggle. But that's backwards, because the nobility and the morality comes in overcoming the struggle, not in the struggle itself. But see, what happens so often as humans is that we get stuck right down there in the muck and the mire. And then, of course, because we are creatures of habit rather, we adapt to that misery. And then eventually we adopt that misery. And then eventually it becomes this weird comforting thing. Like it makes us feel good. Like it absolves us somehow of not having lived our lives to the fullest. Does that make sense? So I say, yeah, sometimes perhaps we get caught up in that. Whereas, again, your spirituality, because again, the flesh, in my opinion, the flesh is temporary, but the soul is eternal. So then that spirit, that is your connection to your creator. And I don't think we spend enough time cultivating that and developing that. Again, we do the bare minimum. And most of us don't even do that. But that's where it comes in. You have to have that connection to your spirituality. And if you take anything away from the holy text, be it the Bible, Quran, Torah, whatever it is, the main thing that you should take away from that is that these were just ordinary people, just like you, just like I. They had their faults, and they go into detail letting you know what their faults are or what their faults were. But these were ordinary people, just like you and I. But through God's will, they were able to accomplish extraordinary feats. And then the basic shit in there too, don't steal, don't kill, don't, bang your neighbor's wife, stuff like that. Like the basic stuff that they probably need to tell y'all, because y'all would be running around like savages without some blueprint, But again, we tend to get so caught up in the pomp and the circumstance. Plus, you also have to think about it like this. And this goes back to what I was talking about earlier in regards to questioning everything. Don't be scared to question. Because we know this for a fact. We know that there were certain things in those texts that were just inaccurate, that were not true. You understand? We know this, right? So if we're able to concede that certain things in there were not as they appear, how can we know for certain that there weren't other things that were taken out of context? You understand? So you can't take your word for them on here, or see that they're lying on here and then take their word for it on here. No, you got to do the work yourself. You have to do the research. You have to go within yourself. You have to pray to your creator, and you have to find the truth. And that's all you do. Just ask your creator to reveal the truth. I'll give you a perfect example. You never thought about it like this, but damn, everybody in that book is white. Is black. If you really think about it, right? And you also have to understand, especially in terms of black people, like, dude, black Americans, man, we are a created species. Feel me on this one. We are a created species, literally. From the Middle Passage, only the strongest of the Africans were able to survive the Middle Passage, right? The rest perished, right? So then once they got over there, they took the strongest of the strongest and bred them with each other, right? And you see that in today, obviously, the joke is played out. The brothers in the NBA and the NFL and all of that, like it's played out now. Like it's, you know what I mean? But that's where it came from. And hell, you could just look at my pigment and you could see that somebody was creeping up in the slave quarters. So when you think about it like that, and then they gave us this religion. So of course you subconsciously look as the white man as God. Because he quite literally created you. He quite literally created you. I had to let that one sink in for a little bit. Does that make sense? Quite literally. And see, once that African starts to fade, because again, there were generations upon generations born into slavery. So once that African starts to fade, that just becomes what it is. So then all of a sudden, yeah, white Jesus, of course. Right? Of course. Of course Noah was white, right? Does that make sense? So I said all that to say that we get so caught up in the religious aspect that we lose the spirituality. Like there's some of you right now, somebody might have turned it off. Somebody might be praying for me right now because they think I'm being a heathen by saying what I'm saying. You understand? Like it's almost become sacrilege to even question. And I tell you that the God I serve and the God that I pray to, his word stands up. So I don't fear questioning. And you have to question because certain stuff just does not make sense. Right? There's certain inconsistencies and certain things that just do not make sense. But again, we're able to fall back in that cocoon and tell ourselves that we're good people because we do the ritualistic religion thing. And then on another note, think about it like this. So those white people at home, I'm not talking about the ones that created you. I'm talking about the people that think they're white, but they're not really. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about. The masses, if we will. So now they take that white Jesus and that justifies the atrocities done to you because now she can go and say, well, at least we taught those savages Jesus. So now she's off the hook in her mind for slavery. And then conversely, when you bring it to today, the way that they flip it, the way that we're portrayed in the media, that again absolves her from responsibility because now she's able to look at that image and say, oh my God, those poor people need Jesus. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Because we hear that a lot, let go and let God. And of course, God is the ultimate conductor. But at the same time, God helps those that help themselves. So don't use that as a religion or as a crutch or as an excuse not to get out there and do what you got to do. Does that make sense to y'all? Don't get so caught up in the religious aspect and the pomp and the circumstance and the ceremony that you forget to put the footwork in on the spiritual side of it. And you work on your connection and your relationship with your creator. Because that's how you untap your potential. Or that's how you unleash your untapped potential. You get in core with your creator, with your God, with the universal God that created all and sees over all. Because again, we're creatures of habit. So everything we do becomes habitual. And then after a while, you can just do it without even thinking. And that's the ultimate thing. We got to get back to thinking. Because I can kind of see what's coming down the pipe, brothers and sisters, and it might not be pretty. And y'all sitting up here waiting for God to win the battle, and God looking back at you like, well, yeah. As soon as you pick up a weapon, metaphorically speaking, you know what I mean? Metaphorically speaking. Again, Noah just ain't sit out there and get drunk and say, damn, I got all this wood. God gonna bless me with an ark. And nigga got the ark in. You got to build in an ark. You dig? David ain't just show up to fight Goliath and Goliath fell. So you got to do your part. And see, that's what religion does, because we're always looking for hope. We're always looking for that. We always want to feel the sense of belonging. You understand? And a lot of unscrupulous religious people play on that. You understand? Not everybody, obviously. We're not talking about everybody. So you have to be careful. You have to be careful. Because you start hooping and hollering and you get all caught up, but then that's it. So now you take that feeling with you and you feel good for the rest of that day, but you are now spiritually unequipped to deal with the rest of the week. So come Monday morning, you're right back where you were. You understand? Does that make sense? So again, focus more on your relationship with the Almighty. And pray to him and ask him to reveal the truth to you. And don't get so caught up in the pomp and the circumstance and the routine of religion. See, we have to break out of a lot of our routines. And don't be afraid to question. Because the truth, again, and it doesn't matter what we're talking about here. If we're talking about spirituality, white supremacy, anything else under the sun, sports, whatever. A relationship, whatever. The truth stands up over questioning. And as humans, that should be all we are concerned with. And that should be all that we concern ourselves with, is finding out the truth. Because again, it's tangible. So now once you get your hands on the truth, you can look at it as a tangible object. Say, okay, this is the truth. So now that I know this truth and I know this to be true, what am I going to do? What am I going to do with this truth? Just my interpretation of the situation. If you guys are new to the broadcast, we do this every Wednesday night, 9:30 Eastern, right back here. Also, go to the Straight Talk YouTube page. It is Straight Talk IGC at YouTube. So if you ever miss any of the episodes, or if you want to go back over something that's been said, maybe you didn't quite catch it, or you just think I'm just an entertaining melon farmer and want to watch it again, go to the YouTube page, Straight Talk IGC on YouTube. You can also follow me on Twitter at The Real C Platt. I'm on Facebook at Christopher Platt. I'm also now on Instagram at CD Platt. So you can follow me there as well. Again, guys, it's been real. I appreciate you showing up. I love each and every one of you. God willing, I'll see you back here next week. Same Platt time, same Platt channel. Till we meet again. Shalom.